This, the Great American Getaway 400 DFS Picks edition of the NASCAR Gambling Podcast here on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network is brought to you by Underdog. Get up to a $1,000 deposit match when you sign up at UnderdogFantasy.com. Promo code RACE, SGPN.
Driver, start your engine!
Strap in and pull those belts up tight as the Sports Gambling Podcast Network presents the NASCAR Gambling Podcast.
I'm just gonna put my foot on the floor and I'm not lifting till I see God or a checkered flag.
My man.
With all the news and the best bets for your NASCAR weekend.
We want to thank you tonight for these mighty machines that you brought before us. Thank you for the Dodges and the Toyotas. Thank you for the Fords. Lord, I want to thank you for my smoking hot wife tonight, Lisa. In Jesus' name, boogity, boogity, boogity.
Now, here are your hosts, Rod Villagomez and Cody Zeeb.
Welcome in to another episode of the NASCAR Gambling Podcast here on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network. He's Cody Zeeb. I'm Rod Villagomez, and welcome to Thursday, the DFS edition of the NASCAR Gambling Podcast. And Cody, some people in the Discord seem to think that today's already Friday. I feel like this week has gone so wonky that we've all lost track of what day it is, buddy. It's Thursday, by the way.
I wish it was Friday, Rod. I could use it to be Friday today.
I could use the trucks to be on tonight. Yeah, absolutely. I would love that because again, we're all three series in action Friday, Saturday, Sunday at the Pocono Raceway in Long Pond, Pennsylvania. And yeah, this Tricky Triangle is going to be fun to watch, and I, for one, can't wait to watch it.
Yeah, it's going to be a really exciting weekend and all three series in action. Been fun to talk betting for all three so far this week. Now, we get to use that money we won with Catherine Legg in DFS last week, Rod, and turn it around and try and win some more this week.
We laugh. We tend to make fun of things that we don't understand, and for a lot of people, they didn't understand Catherine Legg and why that was a unlock or I guess a what do we call it? Cheat code. The kids call it a cheat code nowadays for DFS last week, and honestly, that. Cody, I don't want to overgrandize, I don't want to oversell something, but the Catherine Legg play last week is exactly why this DFS episode exists, because we are here to try to give you a leg up on the rest of the field and the rest of the to try to just make you think about things, right? It's no one was really thinking about Catherine Legg. Obviously, our Discord was, but not very many other people on top of that were, right?
Yeah, it really did give us a leg up, and everybody in the Discord was wanting to bet on her, but we tried to tell you guys that wasn't the way to do it. But the way to do it was to get in on DFS, and really she was a good play last week. She panned out nicely, and played out exactly like we said it would. We said she was going to qualify last. She qualified last. There was some attrition. She was able to get around some people. She beat Kyle Busch, Kyle Larson, along with a few others, right? And that's what matters. So if it helps, Rod, TK down under, it's already Friday for him. So happy Friday to TK. He's I do always feel like TK is just a little bit ahead of the game when it comes to days of the week. So shout out to you for already getting through and completing your Thursday and moving on to Friday.
But what TK can't do is tell us who's going to win the race tomorrow. If you're already a day ahead, TK, please just give us all the insight that you can on the next day.
Yeah, I wish it would be nice if it worked out that way where TK could give us insight. Like, here's what's going to happen on Friday. And, but that's okay.
Cousin Danny. Don't have to keep kicking her while she's down. We weren't kicking her. We were praising her.
Praising her. We're raising her up. She did a great job for us in DFS, and that was all we asked for her to do. Yeah, I know y'all made your dollar donations last week, which was unfortunate and sad for yourselves. But, hey, yeah, she was great. And that's the goal of this show, right? We're not getting on here with our spreadsheets and our nerd glasses and Rod's got his glasses on, but
they're nerd glasses.
They're not. Well,
don't sugarcoat it, Cody. I've been called a nerd enough in my life. Jeez.
We're not going to talk about your comics today, Rob, but
Well, they're
but
over
no,
there.
it's we're trying to give you some general just DFS stuff to go have fun, right? All that. So and hey, I think it's been pretty successful. I believe we talked about John Nemechek last week as well. I'd have to go back and look at the sheet for sure, but he was a hell of a play. Started in the 30s, ended up with a top 5 at the end of the day. So also had him and yeah, definitely the combo of those two as the cheap drivers. Like SVG, we talked about him last week, right? And obviously he panned out well. But everybody knew that, right? And so you get your advantage in other places usually.
Sure do. TK saying Heimer Hocevar won the race. It was close though. So thanks TK for all of that.
Hey, as long as it's one of those, we'll be happy. Hopefully it's time. But I'm not going to be sad if Hocevar wins any races either.
Just because I called it out, I'm not going to be sad. But you know what I'm not sad about is the college football coverage that comes from the Sports Gambling Podcast Network. It is top notch, ladies and gentlemen. It is the best in the business. I mean that. And look, Cody's got the college experience shirt. You can find that at our merch store. Shout out to the boys. Shout out to Colby Dan and Moneyline Mac. They are previewing every FBS college football team. Obviously, you don't want to miss it, but boy, I tell you, when you dig deep in the weeds about all of the schools that they end up covering, it's MAC schools, WAC schools,
even Ball State.
Even Ball State. I need to catch up on that one because I'm not there yet. I'm not to the Ball State thing yet. But yeah, make sure you go over there. They got your favorite team and probably all of your neighbors' favorite teams as well. Yeah. So
they do have your neighbor's favorite team because if it's a Division I team, yeah, that's. They got it all.
They got it all. All right, we've got it all as well as we start to break down the DFS portion for this, the Great American Getaway 400 presented by Visit PA in the Pocono Raceway in Long Pond, Pennsylvania. Set for 160 laps around this 2.500 mile paved track for 400 even miles of triangular fun. Cody, what did I say? The hypotenuse of the diameter of the pie. I don't know. Whatever this. I failed geometry.
Sounds right to me, Rod. Close enough.
It looks like a triangle. It races like a triangle, and that is exactly how we will approach this.
I think this is the one where you got to get out the Nimitz stick to measure it, right? Because it's so long. But
Nimitz.
Cousin Danny checking in. Saying over 8.5 on Tennessee wins lock of the century. Well, that's probably a lock because they're too much of a pussy to move their calendar around and keep the Huskers on it. So they had to cancel that series. But
shots fired. It's just because Cousin Danny likes Rocky Top. That's all. He wants to hear Rocky Top till he goes to probably plays it at bed every night. Just a little good old Rocky Top. I swear to God, you guys love my singing. That's why you keep coming back.
I would arguably best part of the show, Rob.
Well, the best part of the show is our DFS. So, all right, Cody. Well, in the Cup Series race, obviously it's all the normal players. Nobody out of the ordinary, right?
Brennan Poole is going to be in the 44 car. Not feeling Brennan Poole like we were feeling Catherine Legg last week. Let's see. Did you pick him as your low price driver? No. Okay, good. That's a good.
No,
one.
Not even close.
But he's $4,500. He hasn't raced this year. If you're playing for some big chaos, maybe because he could gain some spots that way. He's probably going to start last, like Legg did last week. So you'd have kind of the same thing there. But if that car makes it halfway through the race, it probably would be pretty.
Well, and that's the thing about it. Like with Catherine Legg, at least you know that she would miss stuff. Brandon Poole usually is the reason that something happens or gets caught up in it. So,
well, and it's not even Poole's fault. Like that car might not, like it just might not survive. Like it's very bad equipment. So, anyways, we've spent enough time on Brandon Poole, Rod. Let's get to our high price drivers. There's how many laps are in this race, Rod? This one is
I set it up for you.
160 laps. You did, I know. I was definitely listening when you said that, but it is 160 laps. So, kind of in between what we've had with some of the other races lately and like the road course last week, less laps total than a lot of races, but still good amount of laps to score some points and whatnot. And you are going to see, we didn't really talk about this in the betting aspect, but if you want to play some stage bets, stay tuned to the Discord. I'm going to dig into stage bet stuff. We're going to probably get some weird stage stuff because they're going to flip the stages here because this track is so big, you can pit and not go a lap down. So you're going to see some of that, which is going to lead to some guys getting a few laps led here and there, which will be fun too. But all right, Rod, are we ready to get into the meat and bones of this thing?
I am. And every week we give you our high-price driver, our mid-price driver, and our value drivers for the slate to help you build your winning DFS lineups. And so, Cody, yes, load us up with your first high-price driver.
Well, Rod, you took the guy I wanted to talk about, so I'm going to slide down the board a little bit. I'll go to the fourth highest priced driver on the board, but he is the driver who leads all drivers in fantasy points per race, Mr. William Byron. Talked about him on the betting episode. He's just consistently good, and he consistently delivers you great weeks. Last week, he starts horrible, right? 27th down in Mexico City, finds his way up to 9th, ends up with 53.3 points. Kind of a weekday at Michigan, but that's because he ran out of fuel at the end, right? He led 98 laps, 24 fastest laps, was well on his way to having a solid day. You run out of fuel at the end of the race, that's just part of the race, right? You got to pay that tax, as Steve Letarte will tell you, and they paid it, unfortunately, a bad finish. So results didn't end up as they should have been, but you look back at what he's done, 283 laps led at the Coke 600. Darlington, he led 243 laps. Both of those intermediate style of races, intermediate tracks. He's just had a strong season all year. You look at his finishes too, right? 9th last week, 28th in Michigan, but 5th, 2nd, 6th, 4th, 6th, 2nd. Really strong finishes, really good, consistent season from William Byron. And we've seen him be the guy who's going out and dominating some of these races, leading a lot of laps. And we kind of talked about this in the betting episode. Hasn't translated to all the wins that it probably should have. But you don't need him to win in DFS. I mean, it helps, right? It's nice, but he's getting to the end and having these good finishes, but also giving you a ton of fast laps, ton of laps led in the end. So honestly, he probably doesn't even really matter what qualifying or practice looks like. There's going to be a lot of my lineups that I'm going to start with William Byron at 10,400 and the guy you're about to give out at the top of the board and build from there because I'm very sold on these two drivers this week.
Yeah, again, with William Byron, you just know that you're going to get good, solid performances out of him. Now, this is where I like DFS better than betting because I don't want to try to predict where he's going to finish. Yeah, I'm going to lose a few points here and there if he gets me a top 5 instead of a top 3 or whatever, but at least I'm not losing an entire bet, right? At least I'm only maybe slipping a couple of spots here and there. So I do like that play. I do like the discounted price because the guy that I've got is Denny Hamlin. Talked about him on the betting episode yesterday. $11,000 for Denny Hamlin, the highest priced driver on the slate. You could back this up with stats, and I will. Don't worry about it. But one of the biggest ways that you can approach this is just the baby bump. I don't know what it is. You can go back. I haven't dug, and I think I need to go ask Ryan from iFantasy if he will please research for me because he's probably got more patience than I do to research something like this. But how many and how well NASCAR drivers have done after the birth of their child, right? What was their finishing position the next race after the birth of their child? Because I would guarantee you that there's probably some astronomically big number out there for that to happen. But, you know, Denny Hamlin just had the baby. Well, he didn't. His wife did. We always preface that. He did miss Mexico City so that he could attend the birth and then be back for this race in particular. But if there is ever a race to come back to, it is definitely Pocono for Denny Hamlin. Why? He is the active leader in wins on this track with 7 of them. The dude has led 500. The dude has led. Hold on. Let me refresh that now. The dude has led 858 laps around this track, which is a lot more than anybody in there. Kyle Busch with 585, right? It's just astounding how many he's led.
That's almost 5.5 full races.
I know. That's what I'm saying. Like, he has led that many laps. 35 starts, 7 wins, 16 top 5s, 23 top 10s. That is just a mind-blowing number. Last year, he got you 59.4 fantasy points at this race. The year before that, he got you 59.4 points. The year before that, Denny Hamlin got you 57 points. If 55 is the floor, right, out of $11,000, that's not bad, because you got to figure that if the highest scoring was Kyle Busch in 2022 with 71.7. 60.8 was 2023 with Chase Elliott. 72 was Ryan Blaney. So if you're telling me that 72 is probably max for this, because with the laps led and fastest laps, it's not that many, right? So if he's getting me 59, if he's getting me 55, that's really damn good, with the upside of getting that 70 if he does end up winning the race. So I like that. And I think Denny Hamlin, like I said, has a really good shot of winning this race outright, which makes him the best play in the entire slate. And at the price, I know it sucks to have to swallow that, but we've got some low price drivers that'll help you do that. So I think you have to have him in at least one of your cash game lineups for sure. GPP, yes. Get cute somewhere else, but not with Denny Hamlin.
You have to play Denny Hamlin this week. If you've still got him in a one and done pool, if you're in another pool where, I'm in a bunch of different types of fantasy games where you select different drivers, like Denny Hamlin will be played in every single possible way this weekend that you can. This should be renamed Denny Hamlin Raceway. He's loved this place since his rookie season when he swept both races here. He's been so good here. You just mentioned it. He's led 5.5 full races throughout his career here. That is insane. That's a lot of laps led, and he just loves this place. He's really got it figured out. Oh, by the way, last time he raced 2 weeks ago at Michigan, he won. That's the closest comp track we have. He's been on fire at all these other intermediates. Things are clicking full time right now for Denny Hamlin, and this is his best track by far. You got to love that. Going back to the William Byron, TK making the point too. He has a big points lead on Larson as well, trying to stay consistent. That's kind of an underrated thing. I think 67-point lead he has over Kyle Larson in the regular season championship. Now we've seen, right, Kyle Busch had a 50-point swing last week that knocked him from the cut line to well below the cut line. So you can lose that quickly, but it's been a very impressive season for William Byron. How consistent he's been, how good he's been, best average finish we talked about earlier this week as well. So he's putting it together. Another great reason to play him. So you love that. And King Rod, this guy just knows when to pop in. He's showing up just in the nick of time. He'll be happy with the next pick in a few minutes. But he says he just put his bets in. I'm pretty sure he's on the Tyrone Gibbs car lift this week.
I'm thinking that is probably the case. And just to put a bow on Denny, I would play Denny in a pool that hasn't been cleaned all winter because there was no prep for the summer. That is how confident I am in Denny Hamlin as well. All right. We'll get to our mid-price drivers, but first...
Almost as good as having a leg up on the competition route.
Come for the NASCAR advice. Stay for the cheesy-ass jokes. All right. We'll be back with our mid-tier drivers, but first I would like to take this opportunity to tell you about our friends over at Circa Resort and Casino in Las Vegas, giving away the ultimate fantasy football experience for a 12-person league to draft in Vegas and be treated like VIPs for your entire stay. What do you get? You get a limo ride from the airport, a $5,000 tab for stadium swim, and a hotel stay for you and your 11 league mates. You can always get 15% off, though, at all Circa properties with promo code SGPN. Go enter that ultimate fantasy football contest for free at sportsgamblingpodcast.com/Circa. That's sportsgamblingpodcast.com/CIRCA. Let's tell you about our friends over at MyBookie. We're brought to you by MyBookie.ag. MyBookie is your place to bet on every single sport, including the NBA Finals and the Stanley Cup. MyBookie accepts customers from a ton of locations. Easy deposit, lightning fast payout using cryptocurrency. Told you that the CFL season is underway. Thursday Night Football kicking off tonight. And, of course, Friday, if you're listening to this, you can fact-check me as I give you the Montreal Alouettes, the undefeated leaders of the East. They are 7-point favorites over they are the Edmonton Elks. They're still trying to figure stuff out. I will go ahead and take Montreal -7. -110 is the price over on mybookie.ag. Just haven't figured it out, those Elks, yet. And Montreal is pretty much on a roll, and I know that they love them some beating the West, and I think they're going to do that. So head to mybookie.ag, use the promo code SGPN for a 100% deposit match to place that bet up to $1,000. Terms and conditions apply. That's mybookie.ag, promo code SGPN. Scott Fishbowl has their live drafts kicking off this particular week. However, our draft is coming up soon. The Hendrick Motorsports draft in that division. Me and Cody, both proud members now of the Hendrick Motorsports Fantasy League over there in the Scott Fishbowl. That is going to be fun. Like I said, I really wish we could take them to Circa to draft.
Would be a hell of a fun time, but yeah, definitely looking forward to that, Rod.
Indeed. I'm looking forward to hearing who your mid-tier driver is, because there's a lot of people out there on the interwebs that want to hear who you got next.
Yes, there is. Cousin Danny checking in wants to know who the portly fella in the thumbnail is. Don't worry, we'll get to that in a second. Going back to my friend King here, Rod, leader of the actual Ty Gibbs fan club, not the fake one like you are a part of. Ty Gibbs is my next play here. He checks in $8,400, kind of a mid-tier guy here this week. Man, I'm big on Ty Gibbs coming into this. We're on a bit of a hot streak the last couple of weeks, right? Third place at Michigan, again, comp track a couple of weeks ago. Last week, looked like the only guy who could stick with SVG. Ends up kind of not working out at the end with the pit strategy there, but led 27 laps in that race. Coming to a track where he's been pretty good at. Made his first career start here. A 16th place run back in the 45 car in 2022. But then he came back in 2023, led 4 laps, finished in 5th place after starting 11th. That's a strong, solid day. Then last year was even stronger. He qualifies on the pole, leads 21 laps. Unfortunately, the engine goes out, bad finish. Sometimes that happens, right? And not too worried about that. But it's been progressively better and better. I got a bet on him, if you listened earlier this week, to win the pole. So hoping he'll start up front again there. And if he does start up front, he proved to you last year, he can go out and lead 21 laps. That's a lot of laps led in a race with only 160 to give. So you'd love to see that. Had some strong days here recently, specifically looking back at Michigan here late a couple of weeks ago, 47.4 points there. I'm all aboard the Ty Gibbs train this week. I think we're going to see a strong week from him. He's been a guy that could have potentially won the last 2 weeks. They've just got to finish clicking those boxes and checking things off to get to the win. But again, DFS here, you don't need him to win. That would be nice. But if he can get up there, lead some laps, have a good run, at $8,400, he's not been what Denny Hamlin's been here, because nobody has. But he's coming out of the same camp. Toyota has actually in the next gen era, all 3 manufacturers have won here, but Toyota has predominantly been the strongest team here, and it's not even really that close. So when you're spending $11,000 for Denny Hamlin at the top of the board, and you're getting his teammate who's also very capable at this track, looking good these last couple of weeks with some momentum at $8,400, I love it.
Ty Gibbs is indeed a NASCAR driver. That is what I will give you on this one. Yes, he will be available for you to play in DFS.
Ringing endorsement from Rod.
What more do you want? I've already made my bed.
He already said a lot of good things about Carson Hocevar this week, not only on the show, but also in the Discord channel, saying just professing his love for Hocevar over in the Discord, which has been crazy. So we'll give you a pass. But when Ty wins this week, we're gonna have to get you a monster or something over there.
I have used up my allotment of nice things to say about drivers that I'm not particularly fond of. So that is how far you will get with that on Ty Gibbs. And yeah, okay. So as Cody, I can't even continue on that train of thought. I can't. As Cody gives you one of the higher side of the mid-tier drivers, I'm going to dip all the way down to the lower side of the mid-tier drivers and give you Eric Jones, $6,400. Look, Eric Jones, Legacy Motor Club, my fandom may actually get in the way of, I may have legacy colored goggles on, but for what, I mean, there's no reason not to. If you look back at his performance at this track over the last 3 seasons, DFS wise especially, right? And we're talking $6,400 for Eric Jones, okay? $6,400 for Eric Jones. If you got 38 points out of Eric Jones for $6,400, you'll be thrilled. That's what you got from him last year. In 2023, 51.8 fantasy points. And that was when Legacy was struggling, right? Go back a couple of years ago to 2022. Eric Jones got you 58.2. He scored the second most points on the day. Started 34th, finished 11th, one fast lap. He led 11 laps. The thing of it is, when we talked about it too in the betting episode, there are just some people who have this track figured out, and there's some drivers that don't have this track figured out. Eric Jones is one of those guys that has this track figured out. He's definitely comfortable on this track. Last year, like I said, started 23rd, finished 14th. The year before that, started 24th, finished 9th. The year before that, started 34th, finished 9th as well. In 2020, you want to get crazy in that 20 car, he started 38th and finished 3rd. He also has a second, third, and fifth place finish in that 20 car, along with an 8th and a 3rd. Overall, 8 top 10 finishes, 13 starts, driving 3 different cars. Eric Jones is dialed in at Pocono. He's been dialed in over the last few races, right? 17th in Mexico City, road course. I can't really hold that against him, but 11th in Michigan, 7th in Nashville. A great DFS day at Charlotte where he started 27th and ended up finishing in 13th place, which got you 45 points in that particular race. He's averaging 30 fantasy points per race, which, by the way, guys, is better than guys like Chase Briscoe, Chris Buescher, Bubba Wallace, Todd Gilliland, even the darling, your boys, Carson Hocevar. He's getting more fantasy points per race than Carson Hocevar. So here's the thing. Absolutely love Eric Jones this week. Got to be a lock in any of your lineups for DFS play.
Yeah, Cousin Danny agrees, says he's a must play. King says, great pick, Rod. I think he was being a little sarcastic, but I do think it is a great pick. And TK, there's no denying Legacy's on the upswing, not even the same team as last year. I mean, yeah, the switch from Chevrolet to Toyota has been huge for them. It was a struggle last year, the first year with Toyota, but in the second year, they've really blossomed. We've been highlighting this team all year. It needs to continue. Eric Jones is so freaking good here. He's been on fire. You read off some of those intermediate finishes lately. They have been strong. And I was listening to Phil over on Full Tank with Phil earlier this week with his show, and he brought up Eric Jones, and he pointed out he doesn't really get too much into DFS, but he actually made the comment, he looks like a great DFS play, because if you look at where he started the last couple of years, 34th, 24th, and 23rd, but the results are 9th, 9th, and 4th. So hope that he doesn't start well again, and don't be scared off when Eric Jones doesn't start well, because 3 years in a row, we've seen him not start well. 3 years in a row, he has finished well. That would be a massive play for DFS. So I hope that Eric Jones comes out and doesn't qualify well. Hopefully that gets some other people off of him. We're going to jump on him. And if he doesn't qualify well, he definitely is a must play. Lockstep with you so far. Hamlin I was going to give out. Jones I was going to give out. You beat me to the dock on both. So I love both these plays from you so far.
I want to start a Discord thing on who's going to beat who to the dock on any given race. That I want you guys to have odds on who's going to beat who to the dock.
There you go. I like it. All right, Rod, should we save a little bit of money?
I love saving money. Nah, actually I don't. I love spending it. But let's save people some money so they can fit all these high-priced drivers in there.
I love the idea of saving money. It's not always so easy, but that is what it is. Rod, I would like to highlight last week's winner, Shane Van Gisbergen, $6,000. This is more of I think there's definitely some risk involved in this play, but if you look at what he's done for you lately, for the price that he's at, it's been pretty solid, right? We know that he's struggled as far as ovals go in a general sense, although it's not an oval this week. It's a triangle, of course, Rod. But he's progressively gotten a little bit better. And the thing is, he's only $6,000. He doesn't generally start well. Actually, he generally starts poorly, which is helpful in the DFS game. But he's been managing some decent finishes, and that's all you need for a guy at $6,000. And TK coming in with the chant SVG. It's a question mark, so it's more like SVG. And Impulse checking in too says, "Oh damn, I'm here, boys, just in time for the SVG play." But you go back and you look. Obviously, last week the number's going to be inflated because he starts first, finishes first, leads laps, fast laps, all that stuff. But you go back to Michigan, starts in 26th, finishes 18th. That's impressive for not being an oval guy, right? But 33 points that racks up for you. It's a good, solid day. That's what you're looking for. Coke 600, he ends up with 46.4 points there, starting 30th, finishing 14th. Obviously, longer race, I think, kind of plays into advantage for him. But Kansas goes out and doesn't qualify well. 34th place, finishes 20th, though, 37.5 points. Having some nice, strong, solid days. back at Texas, 35 points. Again, starts 37th, finishes 22nd. Doesn't have to be just the most outstanding day. He doesn't have to run top 10, nothing like that. You expect him to not qualify well. That's kind of the hope. And he's been putting together some solid days. So, we talked a lot about a lot of these guys down here near the bottom. But he's a guy just a little bit higher in the low tier range, right? $6,000. But a guy that I don't think a lot of people are going to be on because, well, yeah, last week was great, but now it's back to an oval. He sucks, all that stuff. But you like to see it. So I think that, TK saying he'll qualify later this week. I don't know the whole metric right offhand, but I think your points and stuff are factored into that. So I don't think he's going to qualify super late. But also, I heard him talking. I think he was on multiple podcasts this week, but I think it was when he was on Stacking Pennies with Corey LaJoy about how, like, when he gets out there, he's still trying to feel out what's going on. Like, there's not a lot of practice time. He's trying to figure out how much can you put into this. This is a big, wide open, fast track. How much is he willing to go full out in qualifying? Hopefully that does have him starting a little farther back. And if he does, he figures it out enough to survive and advance enough throughout the race that I think he could pay off to be a pretty decent play this week.
And that's what I love about the mid-tier drivers and the low-price drivers that we end up trying to give you is these guys, we want them to qualify poorly. We want them to go out and not qualify well, but we also want them to have the ability to improve their position. And when you see that they constantly do that with the SVGs of the world, with the Eric Jones, especially on this track, and with this guy that I'm about to give out here in a second, then you're going to want those guys and you're going to want to target those guys. And that's why, we always tell you, if they qualify poorly, good. That's where we want them to qualify. Like, that's part of our handicapping for this whole thing.
Yeah. And it's not always, it varies person to person and situation to situation. Some guys you don't want to qualify too poorly because they maybe not going to get up there, but that's part of, if SVG comes out and qualifies 5th, don't play him because he's not going to stay up there, right? It's just, if he does, okay, but gosh, it's going to be real tough for that to happen. So you more want him to start farther back. And then that also, takes out some of the risk because if he starts 30th, he can't lose you too many points, even if he does have a bad day, but he's got this upside to have some decent days. And this is where we differentiate the betting side of things from the DFS side of things too, because SVG was not going to come up on the betting show this week. Top 10, you're not going to bet. If we could bet top 20s, maybe, although when we get them, the odds suck anyways, so you're probably not going to bet it. But if we had some type of conversation like that, or maybe a head-to-head, but probably not really a way to bet on SVG this week. But in the DFS world, okay, now we can make a case, right? Because he doesn't have to finish top 10, and we don't expect it. If he does and you play him, great, hell of a day, right? But just a top 20 or even a top 25, depending where he starts, could be a good enough day to pan out in the DFS world.
Which leads just so ever so nicely into my next my value driver, where Cousin Danny asking who the portly gentleman was on the thumbnail. Let me introduce you to Cole Custer. If you have forgotten, $5,100 on your programs, number one in your DFS hearts. Yeah, Cole Custer, we don't talk about him almost ever, right? That Haas factory team with their single car out there, they're really trying their best to just not be horrible this season. And really, Cole Custer's doing his best to do that. And fantasy-wise, not really all that bad of a guy fantasy-wise, especially for his price, right? $5,100 for Cole Custer. He's averaging 21 fantasy points per race, which, give or take, that's about 4 times what you're ending up paying for him, which you would like it to be more, but you will take a 21-point day out of Cole Custer if you need it. But on this particular track, ladies and gentlemen, you may end up getting more than 21. You could get 23 like you did in 2023, or you may end up getting 37 like you did in 2022, where he started 32nd, finished 19th. Again, when we talk about DFS, we're talking about big swings in track position at the end of the race from where they started. That's what you are hoping for with guys like this. You want them to have the upside of being a top 20 car after starting in 30th or worse, right? Because that's really where you're making your money out of these guys. It's not that they're going to be starting 5th, finish 5th, leading all these laps, or else they'd be higher priced, right? So at $5,100, you're taking a chance of them being able to just drive up through the field or outlast some nonsense and be around at the end of the race. And Cole Custer this season, last week at Mexico City, he finished 8th. And it started 26th and finished 8th. You want to talk about outlasting and being all kinds of craziness. Granted, I know that's a road race, but that's really a prime example of how you can just be there at any race and just be there, get you 54 points. Of course, you get the downside of having a -5 that he had in Michigan the week before that, but races of 34, 29, 37, 28, 25, 28, 18, 29, these are some good, solid DFS days, right? And for a guy like Cole Custer who can give you possibly 30 points in this race, I'm definitely taking that upside with, about 6 times what he's giving. And, when you look at the fantasy points per race, too, with Cole Custer, he's giving you, like I said, about 21, which is better than Zane Smith. It's better than Justin Haley. It's better than Noah Gragson. It's better than Brad Keselowski. Right? Some of these guys that you would probably consider playing at higher prices than Cole Custer. Keselowski's $8,600 this week, and he's only averaging 18.7 fantasy points per race. Cole Custer's almost double that. So that should tell you exactly where your head should be at when you're picking a guy like Cole Custer. So give me Cole Custer. $5,100 is my low price driver.
Yeah, no argument from me here. I mean, did you give him out last week?
I did not give him out last week.
No? Oh, okay. Because he had a hell of a day last week.
He did, 54 points.
And I was thinking you had given him out, but it was a different week you talked about him. But, he's, this team, I didn't really know what to expect from them, but I've been kind of impressed with some of the pretty good runs that we've seen out of this Haas factory team. Yeah,
I mean, again, it's just a matter of you being able to identify somebody that is going to get you at least some points, and quite possibly a nice chunk of points. So, all right, get out your pen and paper. We're going to go over our DFS plays for this, the Great American Getaway 400. Cody started you off with William Byron at $10,400 as his high price driver. I gave you Dennis Hamlin, the newest dad in the paddock, in the garage, at $11,000. Cody gave you Tyrone Gibbs at $8,400 as his medium price driver. I said Eric Jones at $6,400 was my mid-tier driver. Cody said SVG at $6,000 was his low price driver. And I said Cold Custard was my low price driver at $5,100. By the way, just before we head off to our underdog fantasy plays, it's funny because we use Descript for the YouTube time chapters for it, right? And anytime I feed it through Descript and I get the chapter numbers, anytime we talk about Tyrone Gibbs, it shows up as Tyrone Gibbs. That's
because we say Tyrone Gibbs a lot.
And I absolutely love it. I have to change it, but I always laugh a little when it says Tyrone Gibbs because
that's funny.
AI has no clue we're not.
I remembered you were on Cole Custer last week. It was in the betting episode. You had him to win that group.
That's right.
And then he went out and kicked ass. So you did talk about him. Rod Lynn wants to know if we like anyone in underdog.
We love a lot of people in underdog. And guess what? You will too as soon as we come back. But let me formally introduce you to our friends over at Underdog Fantasy. It's time for our underdog bonus pick. I'm actually about to give you a ton of underdog fantasy plays. But if you want my bonus play, like I said, CFL tonight, Montreal, Caleb Evans. They are giving me a half a touchdown for his projection, rushing or receiving. It's going to be rushing. Caleb Evans is not going to catch a touchdown. He's going to end up running it in from the one just outside of the goal line. But give me the higher than a half a touchdown for Caleb Evans, rushing and receiving from the Montreal Alouettes. That dude is the short yardage specialist, which means he comes out when it's goal to go and just pushes the pile forward over the goal line, and Caleb Evans is going to get that touchdown for you and start off your week very, very nicely if you pack the rest of our plays alongside of them. Underdog is going long for the NBA Finals with their extender bonus. Hop in game 1, and the longer the series goes, the bigger the bonus gets. Sign up with our promo code RACESGPN. Claim that special pick and first-time deposit offer up to $1,000 in bonus credits. UnderdogFantasy.com, promo code RACESGPN. You've heard us talk about Rhythm before, and they just dropped a game-changing feature called Power Trends. These are AI-detected patterns where Rhythm's model has consistently won and has a high ROI. Think a strikeout prop that wins 59% of the time when the line and win probability hit a certain range. Power trends are updated daily and exclusive to Rhythm. No touts, no noise, just clean, data-backed bets. Download the Rhythm app, check out power trends, and start betting smarter. You know we will be. Get your 7-day free trial at sportsgamblingpodcast.com/rhythm. Yes, Cody, there are a ton of fun things to do on Underdog Fantasy. I'm telling you right now, start off with that. If you're listening now, if you're listening live, go grab that Caleb Evans over higher than a half a rushing touchdown, because I guarantee you that's going to hit. And then it'll set up nicely with the rest of our plays, Cody, because Underdog Fantasy, all you got to do is give us a projection, finishing projection for each driver, and all we got to do is select better than or worse than, and what we think they're going to finish, stack up the multipliers, and then at the end of the day, go get yourself a nice little steak dinner with it.
That's right. I love it. And going cross-sport is so much fun when you can mix in F1 picks, and you can mix in Cup picks, and you can mix in Xfinity picks, you can mix in truck picks, you can mix in NFL picks, you can mix in all whatever sport it is that's going on and that you want to add. CFL picks, like you mentioned, I love doing that, especially if it's like, oh, I really like these two drivers, or I really like those two things in that football game, or I like these two things in the baseball. You mix it all together, and it's a really fun way to get in on the action. So I am going to start off, Rod, with Mr. Chase Elliott. We're going to take his better than 10.5. It's been sort of a couple of disappointing weeks, I guess, the last couple of weeks from Chase Elliott, but we know the speed's been there, right? We saw it at Kansas. If he gets out front, he can do well. You saw the 6th place finish at Charlotte. Michigan, Asheville, just some things didn't quite work out for him. Ends up with 15th place finishes at those places. But we've seen good runs from him. We know he's one of the most consistent drivers in the field. 3rd place run in Mexico last week. You like to see that for some momentum coming into this. And it's been pretty good here at Pocono over the years. 3 for 3, better than 10.5 in the next gen era. 9th place last year, 10th place the previous year. A win with the asterisk in 2022. Of course, he finished the race in 3rd place, but with Hamlin and Busch both being disqualified, moved him up to the top spot, so he gets credit for the win. He's had some really good other runs here, right? 2020, a 4th place finish. 2019, a 4th place finish. 2018, a 7th place finish. 2018, 10th. 2017, 10th. 2017, 8th. 2016, 4th. He's had some really good runs here throughout the years. And again, he doesn't have to go light the world on fire. Just go be consistent, be Chase Elliott, get inside the top 10. That's all you got to do. Give me Chase Elliott better than 10.5.
And really, ultimately, this is why Underdog is superior in some ways to being and having to bet on things, is because in this instance, a Chase Elliott number for a top 10 finish would be unbettable, right? But here, you just add it on there and you can pretty much count it. And if you get everything else right, then you are a smart person, because that is exactly what you're hoping for. You're not trying to cash a top 10 bet and make money off of it. So, yep,
yeah,
Lynn.
Absolutely.
Lynn's all on it.
Yeah, Lynn's on it. Says, I wasn't doing it right until I realized there's nothing stopping me from just including multiple sports. It really is. Like, NFL season is my favorite time. When we get into NFL season and we've got NASCAR going on still. Again, F1, like, I love to get in on some of that too. So, multi-sport doing it makes it more fun. And sometimes I love to put in, especially crazy, like, seems like every race day I'm tossing out 8 or 10 or whatever to let me get to the max in there, just but at some point it's like, you could really go either way with some of these drivers, but there's always 2 or 3 that you really like, and so being able to cross sport them just makes it a lot more fun.
It does indeed, yeah. And again, I love it because then sometimes I spread it out over the course of a weekend, so I delay my gratification, right? Where I'm sweating all weekend long, where it's not at the end of the race, I'm either unhappy because I completely missed the boat, or I'm sad, or I'm happy. I get the benefit of having to pay attention all weekend long, which I will do, and I will have Christopher Bell in this one. I am going to be Gloomy Gus in the first one, and then I'll go back to my normal happy self at the end. But Christopher Bell, finishing projection set at 7.5. I know that there's a lot of Christopher Bell truthers. I'm sorry, Marcus, earmuffs. But I'm going to take Christopher Bell worse than 7.5 in this instance. And it's not for lack of him finishing in the top 7 in a couple of the races prior to last season, right? 4th place finish in 2022, 6th place finish in 2023, but last year, a 12th place finish. The year before that in 2021, before his 2 top 10 finishes, 32nd, 17th, 39th, right? So he's really only had 3 out of the 7 starts in which he's finished inside of the top 10, let alone inside of the top 7. This season for Christopher Bell, all right, great. He finished second in Mexico City, but we kind of, there was a lot of extenuating circumstances. He probably wasn't even a top 2 car for most of the day. He did start 31st, right? I mean, there was so many strategy calls that got him there. So, but road course, 16th at Michigan, 10th at Nashville, 8th at Charlotte. All 3 of those outside of the top 7. Now, granted, he was second at Kansas, but he was 9th at Texas. He was 8th at Bristol. He's only got 7 top 5 finishes. But if you look back, too, I mean, he's got 7 top 5. I don't want to say only, because out of 16 races, 16 races, it's a hell of a number. But where did most of those come? Pretty much the beginning of the year when he was ripping off wins. Atlanta, Austin, Phoenix, right? Those 3 wins pretty much helped propel him. And then a second at Martinsville, third at Darlington. After that, he's only had 2 finishes of better than 7.5 in that rest of that span since Bristol. I get it, right? He's a good driver, and I'm not taking anything away from the Toyota Gibbs connection and anything like that, but this is not a track where he excels, right? He's decent, he just doesn't excel. And I think this is going to be one of those instances where he'll be a top 10 car. Absolutely. I just don't think he's going to be a top 7 car on this particular day. So give me Christopher Bell worse than 7.5.
Yeah, I have to agree with you on this. As much as I love Toyota this week, as much as I love the Gibbs Toyotas this week, Christopher just really hasn't had it on the bigger intermediate tracks like he kind of has in the past. Remember at the beginning of the season, he's ripping off wins, and everybody's like, oh, well, Rowdy brought this up in the Discord, ready to crown him, right? He's the best driver in NASCAR right now. And that talk got quiet pretty quick because it was just a little bit of a spurt. And he's a solid driver week to week, but he just hasn't been really putting it over the top for the most part lately. So, I have to agree with you on that one.
Yeah, I know, and it's tough because there's going to be a lot of people that are going to be screaming at me, oh, Ron, you don't even watch race. You don't know ball.
Sorry, Marcus.
Yeah, right. Like I said, Marcus, earmuffs. It's just not for me this week. But all right, Cody, where are we going next?
Yeah, speaking of not for me, Rod, old KB. Kyle Busch, we're going to take him worse than 12.5. Look at Kyle Busch. He has been amazing on this track. He's just ripped off wins and great finishes. But that was then, and this is now, right? Richard Childress, he's got 2 starts here. 32nd last year. Started 24th, finished in 32nd. Got caught up in a wreck, but you play with the squirrels, you get your nuts cracked sometimes. And then 2023, he starts 25th and finishes 21st. That was the year he had 3 wins with RCR even. So just not impressive. Now in 2022, he did finish second across the line. Of course, scored his 36 at the end of the day because of the disqualification. But that was in Joe Gibbs. That was before they replaced him, all this stuff. Before that, like first, second, a bad finish in there and a bunch of great runs, right? But that's every track. And that's not been the Kyle Busch that we've seen lately. It's not the Kyle Busch we've seen this year. Of course, last week, wrecks early on in the rain. Michigan, he did have an 8th place finish. So we'll give him props for that. But fuel also came into play, right? We had a lot of guys run out of fuel, and he was able to stretch his. So gets a good finish, yes. And Nashville was 12th, okay. But Kansas 21st, Charlotte 15th, Texas 20th. Las Vegas was 33rd. Miami was 21st. Not been a lot of good finishes for Kyle Busch this season. And again, until we start to see some life out of him, you just got to keep fading him. It's worked more than it hasn't. Give me old KB worse than 12.5.
Well, Cousin Danny kind of stole where I was going with this. He says that he thinks KB is one of the squirrels at this point. But I was going to ask you, Cody, is where he's even running, are squirrels back there? I mean, what is behind squirrels at this point? Because that's where he's running.
Well, there's only so many squirrels left after Ty Dillon killed one on pit road a couple of weeks ago. But R.I.P. to the squirrel.
man. And that's my spirit animal, so my spirit got crushed that day. But no, I'm with you on this one. And really, again, because of the projection, you would say, well, but Kyle Busch is going to be a top 10 car. But is he? Don't know about that right now.
He just hasn't been most of the season. And we at this point in the season, this is when you start to feel comfortable with how guys are, right? And there's some ebbs and flows, right? And some guys have maybe started to turn a corner. Ty Gibbs, a Bubba Wallace started slow, but there's no corners being turned with Busch.
None at all. All right. Speaking of Busch, how about the guy that he took out at Mexico City, and that is Kyle Larson, as we watched him just get completely annihilated and taken out of that race. But Kyle Larson will bounce back this week, and I think he will finish better than 6.5 on this particular track. Look, it's Kyle Larson. I kind of don't feel like I need to sit here and tell you why I think Kyle Larson is going to finish better than 6.5. You could probably tell me why you think Kyle Larson would finish worse than 6.5, and you probably point to the fact that he crashed out of Charlotte. He crashed out of Mexico City. He had a suspension issue, rather, in Darlington, and he finished 32nd at COTA. But I'll point out to you that he's got 9 top 5 finishes in 60. Over 50% of his finishes, 56% of his finishes this season have been inside of the top 5, which, if you are keeping score, is better than 6.5. 5th at Michigan, and then 4th at Texas, 2nd at Talladega. He won at Bristol. 5th at Martinsville. He won at Homestead. 3rd at Phoenix. Need I go on? I probably don't have to. However, I will say that if you are looking and pointing at the fact that he finished 20th in 2023 on this track and 13th in 2024, that's fine. That's fair. But what I'll point it to you in return is that he finished 5th in 2022, 2nd in 2021, 9th in 2021. I know that's not a better than 6.5, but 5th in 2019, and that was in the 42 car. He also has a 2nd place finish in the 42 car here too, a 7th, a 6th, a 5th place finish in his very first start here in the 42. Kyle Larson is good at Pocono, and 5 top 5 finishes and 17 starts among 2 different cars. He's led laps in 2 of the last 3 races on this track. I mean, look, for me, Kyle Larson, he's going to bounce back this week. He's got a lot now to bounce back from after Mexico City. He's going to do it in a big way. So give me him better than 6.5. Yeah,
not just Mexico City. It's been a rough few weeks for him. Obviously, he goes out and dominates Kansas, but since then, very quiet from the Larson camp. Been a rough handful of weeks. Can pop up and hit any time. The biggest issue I have with him is it's so inconsistent with him, and that can be the issue. But if you want to call your shot, I mean, the thing you're going to get out of Larson is he's either going to be top 5 or he's going to be bottom 5. I mean, there's almost no in between, right? If he's good, he's good. And if he's bad, he wrecks or he's out of the race. So, if he's going to get it done, I think he'll get it done.
Indeed. Rebel Soul checking in saying, Hocevar, Barry, Chastain, underdogs. Not only are they underdogs, but they're good underdog plays. We just don't have any of those 3.
There you go. Yeah, thanks for checking in. First time I think I've seen you in the chat, but we talked about Hocevar in the betting episode. I've took him as an outright. We didn't find a way to talk about Barry this week, but I'm still aboard the Barry train. Rod, the intermediate speed has been there. I love that. I think you had some not fun things to say about Mr. Chastain back in the betting episode as you took a head-to-head against him. So if you haven't listened to that episode, make sure you go back and get our thoughts on at least Hocevar and Chastain. All right, Rod, going back to the William Byron well for my final pick here. Better than 6.5. Look, you know how much I love William Byron. You go back and you look at his results here. 4th place finish last year. 2023, he finished 14th, but started on the pole at 60 laps. Good solid day there until it wasn't. But he's also, running this race in July generally. It's a little earlier this year, but usually at that point in time is when his team is completely checked out. He's not running well. But we haven't got to that point so far this year. They've been running good, coming off that good finish at Michigan or at Mexico City last week. Michigan, again, ran out of fuel, so the result wasn't good, but 5th at Nashville, rough day at Kansas with the tire issue early, but when he's finishing these races, he's finishing well. 2nd at Charlotte, 6th at Bristol, 2nd at Darlington, 4th at Las Vegas. Good runs throughout the season, on top of a lot of other good runs at not so much comp tracks, but Byron's having the best season, really, of all the Cup guys so far. Best average finish, leading the points, having a great season, leading a ton of laps, running well. All he has to do here is finish inside the top 6. Again, you said it earlier. Sometimes it's even better than betting. He doesn't have to finish in the top 5. He just has to finish in the top 6 here. So I like that from Mr. Byron.
Yeah, that extra spot, I don't know what it is that makes you feel so much more comfortable, because anytime it feels like you bet a top 5 on somebody, they finish in 6th.
They finish 6th, yeah.
Like,
you know how many times my long shot top 10s have finished 11th, Rod? Sometimes it's rough.
Yep. I know. When you handicap it exactly the way you're supposed to and just doesn't come out the way it is, doesn't matter. In Underdog, no handicapping. You're just literally picking. So absolutely love it. Speaking of finishing inside of the top 6, I'm going to throw Ryan Blaney into the top 6. His projection is at 6.5. I'm going to take the better than. It's so tough. Like, I wanted to. The thing about it is I wanted to take drivers that we didn't really talk about too much in the betting episode, because sometimes it does get a little redundant when we talk about the same driver over and over again. But for Ryan Blaney, it's like, it's so hard to bet, because like I said, I don't want to have a top 5 on him and then all of a sudden watch him finish 6th. So in this instance, if he finishes 6th, great, fantastic. That's exactly where I want him to finish, 6th or better. Obviously, Ryan Blaney won at Nashville a couple of weeks ago, but then he follows that up with a 32nd at Michigan. It's so heartbreaking. He crashes out of Charlotte and finishes 38, but before that, 3rd at Kansas, 3rd at Texas. Bad day at Talladega, Super Speedway, we wiped that clean. 5th at Bristol, 5th at Darlington. Like, there's something magical about Blaney that's just under the surface, and if he can just do it, right, that's all I'm asking for him. This is one of those gut handicaps or gut calls that you just really want to happen, and I'm want to cheer for Ryan Blaney to finish better than 6.5. He won this race last year. The winner of Pocono in 2024 was Ryan Blaney. Can he capture that magic again? He finished 5th in 2021, 6th in 2020. It's 6th in 2021 as well. And so I think, can he do it again? God, I hope so. I don't want him to finish 33rd or 30th like he did in 2022 and 2023. Just give me a good run out of Ryan Blaney. Nice, solid day for the 12 is all I ask.
Yeah, Rod's really rolling the dice on these guys that are been inconsistent so far this season. But with Blaney, look, the speed's been there all year. He's had fast cars. And much like Larson, if they get to the end, he does finish well each time. It's just the other things, the execution, getting caught up and stuff that he has to clean up. But he should be a fast car, and he won here last year.
He should he should definitely be a fast car. God, I hope he's a fast car. I really do. Just if I could pray real quick, dear 8-pound, 6-ounce baby Jesus. Just honestly, that's what I'm asking for at this point. All right, get out your pen and paper. We're going to go over our underdog fantasy plays for this race. Cody started you out with Chase Elliott to finish better than 10.5. I said Christopher Bell would finish worse than 7.5. Cody said Kyle Busch would finish worse than 12.5. I said Kyle Larson would finish better than 6.5. Cody said William Byron would finish better than 6.5. And I said Ryan Blaney would also finish better than 6.5 in the Great American Getaway 400 presented by Visit PA. Absolutely love it, Cody. We are here. We are at the end of the week. Now all we got to do is watch these races fold out.
That's right, Rod. We've made it. Best of luck to everybody this week at the Tricky Triangle. Next week, going to be pretty exciting, Rod. We got 4 shows lined up. Have the bonus show, picking the in-season tournament. We'll make our bracket picks all the way through. I was looking at the races. Oh, my goodness. You got Atlanta, Chicago Street Course. There are some major wild cards in there. And the way they're doing the seeding all fucked up is going to make some interesting head-to-heads as well. So who knows? Maybe they got that right, I guess, because it's, we still don't even know the seeding, which is going to make it super interesting, I suppose, going into next week. So we'll have a bonus show with that contest to accompany that as well. So make sure you stay tuned. Hit that subscribe button, the like button, wherever you're listening. We appreciate all the help, all the support. And, good luck this weekend. Follow me, Rod, on the X at Husker_Zeeb. You can find all my work over there. Tons and tons of arena football stuff. Headed to the playoffs this week, so that's pretty exciting over there. And lots of betting content. It never stops. Working on my 32 NFL team. 3 best bets for each team coming out one at a time. So stay tuned for those, along with lots of other fun stuff. And yes, TK, we're not calling it Echo Park. It's Atlanta Motor Speedway. Shout out to Echo Park for the sponsorship, but whatever. We'll talk about that later.
We most certainly will. You can follow me on Twitter at RJ Villa Gomez. Link in the bio, everything I got going on, whether it's here, whether it's in between media. Make sure you check out Seth and Elliott tonight on the back road, or if it's tomorrow or Saturday or whenever, go find them on the YouTube in between media. They're going to be out there at Pocono too, so lots of great footage from Pocono Speedway, Raceway rather, out there, and they'll be having a great time. Follow along with them as well. We will see you next week with the special episode on the bracket and, of course, all of our normal content to follow. Love you guys all. Have a great weekend. Enjoy the racing. And until then, let's go racing and let it ride.